Great to be here with you. So we're approaching the Christmas season, so starting next week we'll have Christmas messages. We're going to actually visit the places that were affected by the birth of Christ. We will be in Bethlehem, we'll go to Nazareth, we'll be in Jerusalem, and also in Egypt. These are like places that are in the gospel stories of the birth of Christ, and each one of those places represents a certain type of person. And finally we will end with the shepherds in the fields, which is maybe the most significant thing about Christmas, is apart from the birth of Christ himself, is that that God visited the shepherds, and they're very, very important shepherds. But for today, we're going to kind of go back, and we didn't have service last week. We're going to go back to last week, in the spirit of last week, which was Thanksgiving. And the title of the message is Thanksgiving, a Way of Life. Thanksgiving, a Way of Life. When we normally think about Thanksgiving, we think, I got a new guitar, and I am so thankful for it. My granddaughter Elizabeth, or Olivia, is back, does not have any more chemo, and I am so thankful for that. Or I did really well on my SATs, or I did very well on my entrance exam, and I'm very thankful for that. This is our normal sense of thankfulness, and even to the point where we would say, count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your blessings and see what God has done. We say, I thank God for my breath. I thank God for the food that I eat. I thank God for my health. I thank God for the mountains, for the stars, for the birds, etc., etc., etc. It's the normal concept of Thanksgiving. I would like to maybe go a little bit deeper than that. If you would go to John chapter 4, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John chapter 4 this morning. Our pastor just got back from Israel. He preached this morning. I go to the 9 o'clock service over at Greater Grace. And very interesting. He kind of preached, in a sense, the same message. He didn't start with Thanksgiving, but he ended there. And I'm going to just steal one thought from his message for us this afternoon. Okay, so John chapter 4, we are going to just take a look at the Lord's encounter with the woman at the well. The woman at the well. This woman, we see, I'm just going to tell the story, and then we're going to just get right to the point. So Jesus was passing through. He was tired, and he went to a well to draw water. And there came a Samaritan woman unto him. Normally a Jewish man, first of all, he was a man and she was a woman, he wouldn't have spoken to her. It was sort of, for a man to be speaking to a woman alone like that would be like coming on to her. And so the Lord stepped over that line. And then she was a Samaritan and he was a Jew, and the Jews hated the Samaritans and vice versa. So the Lord stepped over that line also. And he did it because he wanted to minister something to this woman. So, in verse 7, John chapter 4, verse 7, there cometh a woman of Samaria to draw water, and Jesus said to her, give me to drink. For his disciples were gone away to the city to buy meat. Then said the woman of Samaria unto him, how is it that you, being a Jew, ask drink of me, which is a woman of Samaria? Those are 2 points. A woman of Samaria. She immediately realized this guy is way over the line. Why are you doing this? Because the Jews have no dealings with Samaritans. Verse 10. Jesus answered and said to her, if you knew the gift of God, and who it is that saith unto thee, give me drink, you would have asked of him, and he would have given you living water. And the woman said to him, sir, you have nothing to draw with. He had no buckets, and the well is deep. Where are you going to get this living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us this well and drank thereof himself and his children and his cattle? And Jesus said to her, whosoever drinks of this water shall thirst again, but whosoever drinks of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give unto him shall be in him a well of water springing up into everlasting life. Okay, so the woman comes to the well, and the woman comes to the well, and she is thinking completely like a natural person. Right? She's thinking in terms of the natural life that we live in every single day. Right? It's a life of health, it's a life of money, it's a life of cars, it's a life of friends, it's a life of talk, it's the life of the Ravens, it's the life of the NBA. Finally they came to some agreement. That's the life that she was living in. It's a life of food, it's a life of hunger, it's a life of sleep, it's a life of headaches, it's a life of toothaches, it's a life of broken bones, it's the life of colds, influenza, etc. Right? We know that life. This is the life that this woman was living. And now Jesus is going to say to her, using water as an example, the life that you are living, if you were satisfied today, tomorrow you will not be satisfied. That's the nature of natural life. You cannot be satisfied. If you see one Ravens game, it's not like, well, that's it, I've seen it. I saw the Ravens game, I'm happy, I'm done. I have complete relaxation now for the rest of my life. I never need to see another Ravens game, or another basketball game, or eat another meal. It just isn't like that in the natural world. But Jesus said, unlike the natural world where you eat and you have to eat again, or you drink, you have to drink again, there is a spiritual life that if I give it to you, you'll never be thirsty again. If you have this spiritual life, you'll never be thirsty again. It's a life that springs up in us unto everlasting life. It reveals to us an everlasting life that is without end. When you think of everlasting life, you think of a life that had no beginning and it has no end. Everything that we do on this earth has a beginning and an end. I got my job and I'm going to lose my job. I don't know when, but it could be next week, you don't know. It could be at the end of my life, I don't know. I am young, I'm going to be old, and my life will end. Everything that we know has a beginning and an end, but there is a life that has no beginning and it has no end. That life is above and beyond the life that we live every day. A young man who is single wonders, Lord, I'm going to live my whole life as a single person? And actually he would say, no, you're going to live all of eternity as a single person, or rather, you're going to live all eternity married to only one, and that is Jesus Christ. We can be wrapped up in our needs that are natural needs that are related to things that have a beginning and an end. But he's talking about eternal life. Now I'm going to rob this verse from my pastor. Pastor Schaller is the pastor of our church. In John chapter 7, go a little bit further, we see somewhat the same situation. Or I'm sorry, John chapter 6. John chapter 6. Okay, the situation is Jesus had just fed the multitudes. I think in this case he had fed the 5,000. He multiplied bread and fed them. Then he went over to the other side, of the sea, and here the crowds followed him over there, and we see in verse 26. He turns to the crowd, and this is what he says to them. He said, Verily, verily, I say unto you, you seek me not because you saw the miracles, but because you ate of the loaves and you were filled. You saw me. You aren't following me because I am the miracle worker, but you're following me because I gave you bread to eat. I satisfied your hungry stomach, and now you are hungry again. And so you are following me, thinking I'm going to just continually satisfy your natural life or your natural desires. But then, verse 27, labor not for the meat that perishes, but for the meat that endures unto everlasting life, which the Son of Man shall give unto you. For him hath God the Father sealed. Jesus is telling them once again, first he said, there's water that you can drink of, and if you drink it, you'll never thirst again. Now he says, there's meat that you can eat, and you'll also never be hungry again. Hi, Don. That's my sister. Yeah, she's late for church. This is her third church service today, so we forgive her for that. Yeah. This is actually the Donna. She's my sister that went around the globe in a boat. Successfully. Yeah. Yeah, the teens know more about that story than the older people. But okay. So Jesus said, there is water. If you drink of it, you'll never thirst again. Never thirst again. I will never be unsatisfied again if I could drink of this water. There is meat that I could eat, that if I eat it, I will never be hungry again. Not hungry my stomach, but hungry my soul. There is a life that I can drink of, there is a life that I can eat of, that I will never be unsatisfied again. And will I ever be completely satisfied as far as my hunger? Absolutely not. I'm going to be hungry every single day. Every single day I don't eat, I'm going to be hungry. And little kids, they start crying like crazy because they haven't eaten in 3 hours. They're like screaming because they haven't eaten in 3 hours. Then you feed them, and 3 hours later, they start screaming again. And then they poop and pee and spit up and all this stuff that children do. And they just keep doing that until they get old like us. And then we keep doing it too, so we don't spit up. Not usually anyway. Jesus is telling us about a life. Let me show you. 1 Thessalonians. Go a little bit further back. Now we're going to talk about Thanksgiving. There is the idea that I could learn and learn and learn and learn and learn. Imagine you are not a believer, you're not a Christian, but you read all the Christian books. Right? You know all about Christian life. You know how church services go. You can even come to church services. I go to church services. I read all kinds of Christian books. I read the Bible. I know everything there is to know about the Christian life. It's like a person who studies water, studies it scientifically, watches it, knows how it reacts, knows how it's made, knows everything about water, even read about when somebody drinks it, the effect it has on their throat, how good it tastes, and all that stuff. I can read all about it, know everything about water, but if I've never tasted it, I actually don't know anything about water. I don't know the reality of water. Because it's one thing to talk about how refreshing water is. It's another thing to actually drink water and be refreshed. It's one thing to know about God and talk about God, but it's another thing to actually taste of Him and actually be refreshed by Him. We could grow up in churches, and I was a Catholic growing up. We were Catholics growing up. Went to Catholic church. There was some God in there. I don't remember much about it, actually. I don't remember ever thinking one thought about God in all of my childhood, actually. What's that? So we in the Catholic Church, we learned. We went to church. We had a whole church life. I knew all the prayers. I could make all the signs. I could do the genuflect. I could do all the. I knew how to have. We even memorized the church service. Our Fathers and Hail Marys and all that stuff. Knew all about it. And never once did I actually taste God. I'm not saying it's all their fault. I just didn't. But there was a time in my life when I was hitchhiking. I had kind of long hair, a little bit of facial growth. Hitchhiking. I was a senior in high school. I was a soccer player and a lot of other things. And the guy picked me up hitchhiking. His name is Eric Handel, that we know very well. Eric Handel picked me up hitchhiking, and he told me the gospel. He said, "Would you like to receive Christ?" I said, "Yes, I would." Yeah. He said, "Do you know that you go to hell if you die?" I said, "Absolutely." I do know I'd go to hell if I died. Would you like to go to heaven? Yes, I would. I would love to go to heaven when I die. I would love to know it's a free gift. Christ paid for your sin. Would you like to pray? Yes, I would. You pulled the car over right there and prayed with me to receive Christ. I received Christ in 1975 in the early part of my senior year. And you know what? Something inside of me changed. Not a lot of people knew that. But something inside of me really, really changed. I never was satisfied again with anything that is three-dimensional on this planet. I had no use for college, even though I went. I went and played soccer at university, played for 3 seasons, and that's how many semesters I went. I went three falls in a row because I only wanted to play soccer. I actually went to engineering school, did pretty well actually, dropped out of engineering school because I said, why do I want to be an engineer? What am I going to be, an engineer? What is that going to do for me? I asked my friends, well, an engineer, what do you mean what's going to do for you? You're going to get a good job. I said, come on, a good job, that's it? That's what I get, a good job? I don't want a good job. I didn't want a job. I want a life. I want to live a life. They said, gosh, you're a philosophical person. I don't know what you need. So I asked another friend, well, why are you here at engineering college? He said, well, I'm going to take over my dad's business. Oh, really? You're going to take over your dad? Is that really what you want to do? Well, you got to do something. My dad's got a business, so I'm going to make, he's got a big business, so I'll make good money. And then everybody had the same story. I said, guys, I'm not here for that. I cannot understand that. I cannot understand that. I can't live like that. There has to be something bigger, something greater. Little did I know it was the life of God in me that just would not let me settle for something as mundane as a job. Now, I do go to work every day, like everybody else, maybe. But it's God's will. That's the point. God's will. He had changed me on the inside, done something amazing in my life. Now, 1 Thessalonians 5, I'll show you this about Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving does not come when I receive something good. Thanksgiving is not what happens when somebody gives me something and I say, gee, thank you. Or, gee, I thank you, God, for my health. Because the question's going to be, what do you say when you lose your health? God, why this? What have you done to me? What do you say when there's no present under the Christmas tree? None, 0. Oh, what a horrible day. Oh, Christmas without presents. Nobody gave me a present. Nobody loves me. Nobody cares about me. All these thoughts. But look at these verses. 3 very, very short verses. Actually, there's 4 or 5, but I'm just going to do 3. Verse 16. 1 Thessalonians 5:16. Rejoice evermore. When do you rejoice? Evermore. It means rejoicing forever. Rejoicing forever. Number 2, pray without ceasing. Pray when? In the morning? In the afternoon? In the evening? Is that what it's saying? No. Pray without ceasing. And then verse 18, in everything give thanks. Oh, in everything give thanks? Everything. We see that the life of God is not a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there, but the life of God is all the time, everywhere the same. So that my thanksgiving doesn't end depending on what happens in my life. But just the opposite. Here's a good phrase that you could remember. Prayer is for all things and before all things. In Philippians 4:6, Paul is telling us, don't be anxious for anything. Now, I know that we get anxious about things, especially some of you are in school, some of you are at universities. You get anxious about things, especially about tests. The Bible says, be anxious for nothing. Don't be anxious for anything. But with prayer and thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God. In the Greek language, the way it's set up, it actually is saying,